Hi, Luciva, how are you? I'm just trying to make sure that I can put this thing on speaker.
Okay, we're also currently live. We are live already. I want to say hi to the guys watching on Facebook, and I want to say hi to you and say thank you for joining us live. It'd be nice if we were together, but COVID and the situation we're in. Thank you for sharing your time with us.
Yes.
Let's start off by saying, just introduce SIPA, introduce you, what we'll be talking about today, and then not waste any time and go straight into it. Yes, so we are YIPA, the Youth in Property Association. We believe in empowering youth through property, right? What that means is we're focused on transforming the property sector by increasing the active participation of the youth through education, employment, and entrepreneurship, which is what today is about, entrepreneurship, right? We do this by trying to spread knowledge, create equal opportunities, and most importantly, unite youth in property and to create a network of young professionals and in order to create a future success within the real estate industry. So today, I mean, we wanted to, as the entrepreneurship portfolio, we asked ourselves, what could we do to bring the best value add to our members? And simply put, the answer was you, Dr. Sisa Ngebulana, in the sense that you're someone who has years of experience in industry, but also recognize the value of the potential in the youth. So, and this was seen in how you created 5 scholarships for law and accounting students at the University of Fort Hare in the Eastern Cape, and also how you and other fellow alumni bailed out and cleared the debt of 78 graduates this year. And for people who don't know you, Doctor, you are the founder and owner of the Billion Group, founder and CEO of Rebosis. You're an admitted attorney of the High Court. You were the president of the South African Council of Shopping Centers, directors of multiple companies. I can't list them. You have your businesses spread across mining, logistics, security, and entertainment. And your social and entrepreneurial efforts were recognized by WUSU when they gave you your honorary doctoral degree. So, I mean, I think that's enough. I think the members also kind of understand that we are talking to the real deal. We are talking to someone of substance, someone who understands youth, someone who understands us. And so yes, today, the main 2 topics are leadership and youth entrepreneurship. And I don't know where you wanted to start, but I would have liked us to start at leadership and what that means to you, how you use that at Rebosis.
Yeah, so Luciba, thanks for that introduction. It's very kind of you. You've mentioned just a few things. Perhaps we could find those in the course of our conversation. So, you know, I'm normally a very shy guy, so I'm a doer. You know, I grew up with a grandfather who had very few words, and he used to say, your actions must talk louder than your words. And that's how life should be. And I hope if the youth of today can take that as something from me, in life, you know, you'd rather have few words and very loud actions that speak volumes. Okay, so perhaps let's kick off then. I think you're asking me a question about just leadership in general, and how do you pursue that? I think for me, being authentic is very important as a person. What do you mean by that? I mean, you know, within the concept of your thought leadership, it's one of the key elements that when people find you authentic, you naturally build loyalty. You naturally build trustworthiness with people, and you naturally build the core of the person inside to believe in you. Because when you're authentic, you make people believe in themselves. You make people realize that a simple person like you, you're a simple person, number one. You're not some machine or some person with exceptional abilities which they can never have. And when you work with the team and you demonstrate yourself by being there every day, you don't have to. I think when you start your business, the early years of your business, and I define early years of business as anything between 1 to 10 years, because those are, I'd call them formative years. Anyone who is under any illusion that a business takes less than 10 years to build before it can get to, I would say, medium business, would be living under an illusion. So you lead by example. Those formative years as a leader. You're the first in the office and you're the last. And you're not there just physically. People must see your leadership by example. When it comes to even your main core meetings, where you're able to communicate the goals with your staff on a Monday morning, and your objectives for the day, and you break them down each day, which is quite important, because nothing should ever happen without a plan, in my view. They should see that with yourself as an example. You lay out the plan for your team, what you want to achieve for the week, what you want to achieve for the day. You break it out by day, and why you want to do that, because there has to be part of greater goals for the company. And come the end of the week, you don't have to have achieved 100% of it. But if you set high goals and you achieve 50%, you've done well. And that's really what it is. And that's how we find progress in life. And that's how we inspire others to be the better of themselves. Because we all have ideas. We all want to get there. And we all know the way to get there. But sometimes we lose the discipline, we lose the courage, and because we just don't have the conviction. But when you see somebody that you work with, whether it's your boss or your colleague, working with such conviction and with discipline behind it, it rubs off. There's a saying in life that says, you are the company you keep, right? And that's a reality. We are the company we keep in our lifetime. Because if you hang around with lazy people, chances are you're going to get lazy very soon. If you hang around with people who complain, chances are you're going to complain very soon. If you hang around people who gossip a lot and talk about other people, the chances are that's how you're going to live your life. But if you hang around with people who are disciplined, focused, who have goals and plans in place, how to get those goals, chances are that's what you're going to do. And one thing with positivity in life I like is that positivity rubs off. When you're a positive person and you are around when you surround yourself with positive people, generally chances are you'll be positive yourself. And if everybody is doing their part, waking up every morning, grafting, getting the results, chances are you're going to get a great team behind you. And that's how you build loyalty and faith in people, leading by example.
Now, speaking of positivity, in this year, considering Brexit from the previous year and now COVID this year, how have you managed to keep yourself, one, positive, and two, keep your team positive?
I think I'm naturally a positive person. I suppose I wouldn't be where I am if I wasn't the positive person I am. Sometimes I'm a Christian, so I like a lot of Christian values in life, in the way I live my life. The Bible says you must never live your life by sight. You must live your life by faith. Now, faith is positivity. It's believing in things unseen, right? If you lived your life by sight, you'll be defeated. You wouldn't be able to live the day. So, you've got to live with what you believe in your head can happen. I came back to Rebosis when things were really had gone pear-shaped. My board asked me to step back as the founder of the business. And and we had senior staff giving up and wanting to leave. I managed to contain that. I managed to keep people positive. I managed to motivate people that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. And sometimes when you don't even see that light yourself, but you know, I've seen miracles in life. I've seen, you know, I call them miracles because sometimes the blessings we have, we take for granted, and we think things happen because of our effort, but actually some things happen miraculously. Because if you look at the journey when you started, you couldn't have contemplated that you'd be where you are in life. I call them miracles because they're made possible through your faith. It's really your faith that gets you there, and your positive mindset. And that's really, I think for me, I was able to turn people to look at things very differently to the way they were looking at them. And I suppose that's the role of a leader, to keep people motivated, to keep people being positive, and to craft your vision and refine it all the time, because you've got to change with the times. And I think, you know, we had to, if I look at Rebosis in particular, we had big impairments in the business because of our foray into the UK and the Brexit that happened, 3 billion rand that we impaired in our books. And that threw the company upside down in terms of loan to values and a whole range of things. And I had to keep the team focused because, you know, I had to formulate a vision how to get out of it and how to turn the business around. And they get better every day. And come COVID times, when everybody now is affected by COVID issues, those COVID times have come to a team that's strong. So it's a blessing that we actually had the challenge in the first place. I mean, I look at my life. My life has been shaped by challenges. If I never had the challenges, I wouldn't be where I am today. Those challenges were such a necessary panacea to refining me to be who I am and to get me to who I am. They motivated me, they inspired me. As a result, because of that, I look forward to bigger challenges and greater challenges in life because it's the only way to grow.
So saying that then, would you then say there are opportunities that lie ahead outside going forward from this corona? And if so, where do you see those opportunities?
Look, I mean, I know you mentioned that we in other areas. I focused my businesses into property, so we mostly focus in property. We've got a venture capital fund that looks at tech businesses, putting some money into that. We have mostly strategic investments, not operational presence in most businesses. Our operational focus is really just property. So if you take Rebosis as a listed income fund, I run that as CEO. The idea is for me to still step down and find a CEO for it, because I've got another baby, Billion Group, which is a developer. I think arguably Billion Group is one of the top developers in the country. And I built that from scratch, and it's got amazing opportunities ahead of it to unlock. I think Rebosis also is well positioned to the future. There's lots of opportunities that are caused by this COVID thing. I think people who are positive about life, who want to seize things in this lifetime, what COVID has done is to do a readjustment of things in life and the economy and the business as we know. And what that does is to just present numerous other opportunities into the future, which I'm not necessarily yet at liberty to disclose, but very soon we'll be announcing quite a massive pipeline opportunity in the property space. And I mean, it's just like the prospects are just enormous. And I think, you know, if I know you guys obviously are still at a youth stage, but you know, you build brick by brick, and if you apply yourself and you're positive, one opportunity leads to the next. And yes, challenges will come your way, but those challenges are just there to make you strong. because you're being built for something bigger, you know. And if you believe that you're being built for something bigger, and you must always remember that the greater the challenge, because a lot of people always say, oh, but I've got these challenges others don't seem to have. But then it means you are blessed, because the greater the challenges that you have, the greater the success you'll have.
I hear you. I hear you. And I would like to touch on, I know you said you can't divulge too much, but we have had questions come in before this conversation from our members. I'd like to explain our members range. Youth in our definition ranges from 18 to 35. So you just keep that in mind. We've got a few questions that came in, particularly about Rebosis and how COVID has implicated or influenced your guys' approach to, I guess, maybe retail and office space, considering how people are now, I've seen with how Alexander Forbes have told the employees to work from home, how there's this trend of home working and shared working spaces. Has that influenced your decision to your approach better? What?
Yeah, look, I think for us, obviously, it's the other way around because we're landlords. So okay. Yes, there's a lot of things which we've had to think through. I think retail was decimated quite badly in that lockdown. Because, I mean, the month of April, literally there was no retail trade other than for grocers and pharmacies.
And online.
Which is your essential services. No, April, they were not, even online wasn't allowed. So you only started that only from May, and you could only buy certain line items, which were for winter and things like that. I mean, you know, you can't just stop business. You know, you stop the economy. And people depend on the economy to survive. So when you stop the economy, you are indirectly destroying lives. But that was necessary, given the circumstances and given the probability of more lives being lost if those lockdowns didn't come through. That's a separate subject. So what's that done is decimated a lot of businesses who've gone into business rescue, who've downsized, who couldn't pay people during that time, and a whole range of things, and forced the evolution of doing business, as you know, and the online, also on the retail. So we now in a Zoom meeting, for instance, webinar, and this ordinarily we would have said no. I mean, we can go live, we can, see people. So, but these things have become easier and a better tool of doing things. And what they do is they dispense with. I mean, imagine people who have conference rooms to be able to host these sort of things, and now their infrastructure is going to be of no use very soon, because people can host conferences, do all sorts of things through webinars and things. So what that does is, especially for us as landlords, how do we then evolve from that? Because we own these properties, and properties where people would have these kind of facilities. Starting with retail, so the shopping centers, obviously, it means that the smaller guys have kind of come off the way. The bigger guys who had bigger balance sheets and cash have been able to survive. So we have to evolve the shopping centers. We have to make sure that not only are they
Sorry, your sound is off there.
We, for instance, just moved in one of our shopping centers, Forest Hill, our offices. We've got co-working spaces on the front. So now suddenly our shoppers who come around know that in different pods of the shopping centers, there's co-working spaces or virtual office space that they could rent. So they don't need to be driving far. They could just come from their home during the week, even on weekends, and be able to operate. We're bringing in a whole range of entertainment, a whole range of other things, arenas. So the evolution is unbelievable in terms of, so we're bringing in shops for click and collect to enable online shopping and a whole range of things that go into shopping centers. And on the other hand, you know, as landlords, when you don't receive the rental during that time, because retailers say, but we haven't been able to operate, so we're not going to pay your rent. It's been very tough for landlords. Luckily, it came to us at a time when we've just gone through our worst. So, and we're able to waiver that during that time, and we're still standing. And a lot of landlords have been in quite a lot of, I think you're still going to see a lot of consequences flowing through, because a lot of, I mean, you mentioned Alexander Forbes was scaled down half the space, for instance. What that means is that the landlord of whoever owns that building suddenly must find a tenant for the half of the space. But guess what? That's happening next door. It's happening in the other buildings. It's happening across the street and everywhere else. So now suddenly we've got all these vacancies. What do? They have to repurpose that, maybe convert half the building into residential, or convert portions of the building to hotels, and a whole range of mixed uses. It's all challenging times, but it's times for opportunities as well. Because a youth like you could take opportunities like that and say, Alexander Forbes, I can, if you give me a lease over half the space that's been given away, or whoever's the landlord, and I do a conversion and you register a leasehold over title over that area with the bank, and you finance that portion, and you do conversions to residential, which you sell off plan. You know, there's those kind of opportunities that would have never been available for somebody without a balance sheet, who's got ideas, and willing to roll up sleeves and work, but you know, wouldn't know what to do. You know, you're just talking about a building in Sandton, but that's happening everywhere else in smaller areas on a smaller scale, and those opportunities are there, which just suddenly open up.
Other opportunities, you mentioned you want to focus on Billion Group and development. Should we expect you, or should we expect more developments in the Eastern Cape from you?
We've got a lot of development pipeline, and I think there's a lot of opportunity in the gap market on the residential side. We own a lot of land around the country, over thousands and thousands of hectares on prime areas, mostly around our shopping centers and other areas which we invested prior to that with zoned land. So yeah, there's plenty of opportunities in that kind of space, especially when the times are tough. The gap market just gives you an opportunity to be able to unlock all of that. I think a lot of other developments ordinarily, which would have happened prior to lockdowns, would take long to kick off. Certainly retail is not on the cards. Office space is not on the cards. So there's not going to be new office space development in my view for the next 2 years. And hotels, leisure, entertainment, they've all been decimated. So it's going to take long for them to get back on their feet, let alone to have a new demand to enable development. So I think residential also high end, I think that's going to be quite tough. I know interest rates are low, but people in the high end, either in executive positions, salaries have been cut, or entrepreneurs who'd own garages or restaurants and things like that, who would have afforded that just can't afford it anymore. So you're left with that kind of market, which would be your gap market, effectively between, you know, from social housing to affordable housing. And that in the property space will continue. There's a massive demand of that, especially in the South African context. And I think globally, that's really what's been going on. And then the other one is student accommodation. That will continue, because I think despite COVID, the student accommodation, you know, we've got a massive gap, and it's a global issue. It's not just a South African issue.
That's something you're interested in as a developer,
Yeah, we're doing quite a few at the moment, which we started prior to COVID. So that's something that will continue.
Any of them in the Eastern Cape, or is this maybe all Western and Gauteng?
We're currently doing in Gauteng, but we have a lot of those opportunities in the Eastern Cape, especially in Mthatha and East London. So, so it's something that will be kicking off very soon. Thousands of beds, which we had planned in those developments, because we do have the land and the ability to unlock that. So there's quite a lot of that will be focusing on. I mean, it's not just my development business I'll be focusing on, but there's a lot of opportunities in terms of buying opportunities in the Rebosis context and even billion context. So those opportunities, I think, as we see ourselves out of the lockdowns and the new dawn starts, there's going to be a lot of casualties and there'll be a lot of opportunities.
I've also got a question here from a member who's I assume is trying to start a business, and their question is, how do you overcome the fear of starting? The psychology of living out one's dream, if you understand.
Yeah, I think if I can give you advice, I've never had the fear of starting. I've always been bold. I've always been one who take risks, and much sometimes to the extent that I consume risks which were beyond what I could take, but I learned from them. I think there's no space for fear in this world. If you fear, you'll never start. You'll end up in a job cushioned nicely with security, and there's never the right time. You have to start somewhere. And in my view, you'll enjoy the journey a lot better if you start small, and you'll bring a lot less stress in your life if you build one step at a time and grow from there. I know we all want to just get to the top with the first step, but the reality doesn't happen like that. That's why God created things the way He did. Nature is such that as humans, we all, start being a baby and crawl, and before we walk, and before we can run. It's a long journey. Everything that is new is a long journey. So you got to know that this is a journey, and you have to have patience for it. But be bold and stay positive and take the risks. If you don't take the risks, no one's going to take them for you. But the journey of entrepreneurship is a hard journey. It's a journey of pain. It's a journey of loneliness. It's a journey of relentless vision, perseverance. It's a journey of hard work. It's a journey of sleepless nights. It's a journey of endless stress. It's a journey of understanding life and lifestyle and how to balance things in your life between the ever constant stress, which you can't run away from, of having to worry about things. It's a journey of understanding how to manage the stress, how to base your soul such that you have peace all the time and things don't stress you and don't damage you when they come, because things will come and they're going to come like a ton of bricks at you. The more bold you are, the more you're going to have big challenges in your life. But you're alone. It's a lonely journey. And sometimes mentors help. Pick up the phone, lose your pride, call somebody and share your story. Especially don't try and get advice from people who haven't traveled the road. You're wasting your time. And there's a lot of people like that who volunteer ideas and advice, but they can't show it themselves. I've never believed in asking anybody who hasn't traveled their journey that I want to travel, because you're just going to get a wrong advice. It's theory. There's no reality to it.
And then speaking on that point, I know a member also asked and was very interested to know, do you mentor any up and coming property professionals, and if so, how do you do it? How do you go about it?
Look, I mean, I run businesses, so I get very busy. I have very little time in a day. I've always been one who say to people that call me when you are facing something and I can give you advice on how to go around and how to go about it. And if you drop me an email, it's always best for me. I get lots of emails where I advise people and I help people. And sometimes I pick up the phone and talk on WhatsApp. Some of them are your members, from students right through to people who've been in business for the last few decades. And somebody could be switching from a different business altogether and getting into property. But I've been in this game for a very long time, 2.5 decades, doing the same thing. So for me, I mean, you mentioned that we've taken 5 students, for instance, scholarship. That's just one of the many initiatives. Every year, we have no less than 8 students graduating across the country from different universities for the last, I'd say, 15 years as a business. And that's not necessarily property. We've had some graduating property, but we focus more, on accounting, law, engineering, architecture, and those type of things. So we do. I mean, we do quite a lot, but I suppose this forum is not really for me to talk about what we do. But people are welcome. I'm one to help and empower many. Yeah,
definitely. I also wanted to circle back to opportunities, and you mentioned gap housing. Considering the Mooikloof project that's been announced, what are your thoughts on that? And opportunity? Do you think there are opportunities for youth to go in there, and exactly where and how do you think they could access that?
Yeah, I think it'll really depend on the developers. I think if you know the developers, it would be worthwhile to call them directly. I know of them, but I don't really know the guys. We in competing space, obviously, and we'll be announcing lots of developments in that space, which will be using a lot of, especially Black companies. We have a responsibility to make sure that we can uplift many. We've got a lot of smaller developments which we give to smaller players in the market, so we always entertain that. So I think the Mooikloof is quite a good example of public-private partnership between government and private sector, and them availing their land to be able to get and accelerate human settlements in the country for the government. I think is noble. It's something that has to be commended. But at the same time, I think we've all heard that the way it was presented, there was no content on empowerment and transformation. I think that's quite key, and I think that's quite important. I hope they heed to that call, and they could help a lot of folk in this country who are excluded from this economy.
Speaking on competition, I remember you came to Cape Town a few years ago and spoke to ABSIB. And you mentioned, I wanted to ask you about the competition in your space. You mentioned when you were trying to put up Hemingways in East London, that there was a lot of your competitors and other, I think the developers and contractors, I think were trying to get in your way and were giving you hassles. Since you're still in the space now and you're doing your own developing, how is your relationship with them? And also what is the situation with new entrants coming into the developing space? Is it as hostile, or have you seen it change?
Look, I mean, COVID will change the dynamics because there's not going to be too many big developments, especially certainly in the retail space. You won't find. Look, when I faced that adversity, I'd been in the space already for about 12 years, and I developed a lot of residential. I used to focus on high-end residential. I started out in Kallam Estate areas with houses, Dainfern areas, Pickenwood areas, and then into clusters in Hyde Park and Bryanston and those type of areas. So that's really my background. I started with those sort of things when I left legal practice and when I left Eskom. So and that led to retail, and I started off with Mdantsane out in Mdantsane, and the Hemingway's example and the adversity I endured there was my second retail development. And I think Mdantsane, having been the second largest township, and the retail center I was doing there was the second largest retail development in the township. in the country. Perhaps because of my skin color, it was more acceptable. And when I entered the space in the suburban area with a big regional center, I think partly I saw it as trying to make sure that I would be an example of not touching that space. And unfortunately, I'm not the one to give up, and I fought against it. And even if it meant having to import even cement and concrete batching plants, and I felt like foreigner in my own motherland or home soil. But I was made to be like that, and but I overcame that adversity at much high cost to me and my health and my family and all sorts of things. But it had to be done, not just for myself and my business, but for generations to come, for those who created the adversity to realize that we're all the same, we're all humans, we're created equally, and we'll partake in the economic space with the same vigilance and aggression if need be. That's just how life in business works. You'll face adversity, but it's a very lonely road.
And then, I mean, that was to do with other competitors. Did you, or do you now experience support from local authorities and government, and when you're developing or when you are buying and selling?
Same. I think I wouldn't say there's any preference. In some, they all vary. I think in some municipalities you have old relationships where officials have relationships with old developers, and they just make it harder for you. And sometimes they push a far more greater cost your way to make your project unfeasible in terms of bulk infrastructure and a whole range of things. You've got to be alive to those things, because you can be held up with developments because you think that's just a municipal requirement, but it's just some officials trying to make it impossible for you to do the development. So I've come across those adversities in my life. I won't mention specific municipalities, and I won't mention it, I won't relate it to a race issue, but these things border on all aspects of life. But you need to stay focused and not be distracted by those things, and take one at a time.
I hear you. No, I think that leads me to ask you why and how did you, I guess, identify Tata as the best location for Geb City?
Well, that's interesting. I was born in Mthatha. I mean, I grew up there. So Mthatha is it's an area with a lot of buying power. I think arguably it's got bigger buying power than East London in my view. But it's underrated because, when you talk to back in time, before I was able to put the whole thing together, when you talk to retailers, specialist retailers, big retailers, and many others who not necessarily in the retail space, because it's a black area, they thought it's the same as a township type market, and it'll have similar profile of people. And I was at pains to have to point out that this is a city, be it a small town, but it's a city that was former capital of the old TBV state of Transkei. But what that has done to the local town is that it's blessed with infrastructure of high courts, so there's judges there, and lawyers, magistrates courts, university, there's students, there's lecturers, the whole proliferation of different people from different angles of life in the higher LSMs. And there's a former parliament, and there's government departments and a whole range of things that reside, deeds offices, masters offices for all sorts of things, that people come from far to the city. So, eventually I was able to attract the large retailers, and for the first time a Woolworths Food, which has grown and grown and grown in Mthatha. And from there they saw their first 4-star hotel, which really is a 5-star look and feel, but we settled with a 4-star rating because we just were not prepared to have 24-hour food service and shoe shine and little things that just add up to your operating costs. But for all intents, it's a really beautiful hotel, and that's sort of their first casino, which you have there. And I think Mthatha deserved more. And if we had the opportunity to do more in Mthatha, we would do more. But Mthatha has been fraught with land claims and a whole range of things. So luckily, this was private land, and we didn't have to contend with the land claims. But most of the land is all municipal land and community land. So that's unfortunately held back Mthatha in many aspects. But it's one of those towns that really just beam with growth and activity and buying power, and it deserves better infrastructure and opportunities.
Also, now, considering how you spoke of, I think I've heard you speak on how you feel success is born in tough times. Considering many graduates are graduating this year, they're entering and they've got their degrees. Do you suggest they go into employment, or if they've got big goals and big ideas, they jump straight into business?
Look, I always say employment in a corporate environment will just give you a well-rounded way of looking at things, and it will give you experience in terms of governance, in terms of processes, in terms of systems and running a business, in terms of delegation of authority to people and how to manage people, management styles, in terms of just cultural experience and how to build big teams and how to manage big teams. So a whole range of things which employment would do, but you won't gain that if you're sitting in one position. So you've got to be an all-rounder. And if you want to be an all-rounder, you've got to excel in every little thing you're given. And you'll be given opportunities, and you'll end up being such a great leader. And that then will give you the wings to be able to fly when you go on your own one day. But you have to have a plan. You have to have a plan when you get there. When I finished and I left legal practice, I had a 5-year plan when I went into the employment environment. I had many opportunities at my disposal, but I didn't take opportunities that were too focused, like in the tax department and offer from ABSA, Standard Merchant Bank, Instruction Finance and things. I went to something that will give me a broader experience, which was the legal department, overseeing many clients in an ESCOM environment, and I had finance background as well, and that helped me. I had a 5-year plan. I ended up spending 7 years there, but I knew that eventually this is what I wanted. At the core of my existence was a risk taker and somebody who's just has relentless positivity in his soul, and I had to branch out and find my way and my soul in business. And yeah, I didn't know that. I suppose if with all the challenges I've come across and the hardships I've endured in business, if anybody spelled it out for me, I probably wouldn't have taken the chance and the plunge. But that's such is the excitement of life. If everybody told you how your life will unfold, you probably want to end it. Or in the end, you want to get to the end very quickly and not go through the challenges. But, we hear, and I think I always say to people that business is probably the toughest thing you'll ever do in your lifetime, being an entrepreneur. I don't think there's anything tougher than that. And when you go through and you choose things that are tough in this world, I think, you'll be rewarded handsomely.
And then from the outside, it seems like you've done this all by yourself. Is that the case? Or is there an argument for a partner or partners or a team that supports or works with you?
Look, I mean, if you're lucky enough to have people at a young age that you get along with, who have the same kind of passion like you, and courage and conviction like you, and more than anything else, humility, respect, and should I say culture like you. And in other words, they have the very same value system like you in terms of honesty and integrity. I'll say hang on to those people, because partnerships are always better, because then you have a shared responsibility. But just make sure you don't hang up. You'd rather have no partners than to hang out with the wrong people, because they will kill you. I did have partners when I started, but the value system was not aligned, and the culture was not the same. I was in the business every day. I was there at 6 o'clock in the morning. I would leave at 10 o'clock at night. And some of them were playing golf while I was busy. And they thought there's more business to be earned in the golf course, and it just didn't work. So I went the wrong and the hard way. And luckily, I got out of that partnership. I lost out because I was prepared to take nothing from it just to get out, but the brand name. And 3 years later, I was whatever I had left behind, I had attained a whole lot more than that. So, sometimes it's better being on your own. Just have mentors and people that you can talk to share ideas, but they won't solve your problems and your challenges. You're the only person who can solve your own challenges. Everything that is a challenge along your path, you have the mind, you have the ability. Just think through, take time to absorb it and occupy yourself with finding the solution. You're the only person who will ever find a solution. People can guide you and give you options and things like that, but at the end of the day, your decisions are the ones that will determine whether you overcome or not.
And then I guess I've got a question that just come in here. I think it might be useful. They want to know if in the case of starting a development, is it not risky to take out a loan as capital for the development? Would it be safer to use your own money or investors' money?
No, I think when you start out, no investor is going to put money in your hands. Investors want track record. They want somebody who's proven themselves. They will put their money where it's safe. So I think you earn the right to use somebody's money. You don't just get it from the start. And similarly with banks, I had somebody the other day saying, but 20 years ago, you're already loaning billions from the banks. How did they just give you that kind of money? But at the end of the day, banks are just not going to give you money because they like your face or you're a nice guy or lady. You have to prove yourself step by step, brick by brick. And when you build a track record of reliability, delivery, from small to medium, one thing just follows on another. And that's how you get to, very soon you'll be doing things that you never dreamt you'd be doing or thought you'd be doing. And your vision will enlarge every year, every day, literally, every month, when you do small things and you build one at a time. One opportunity leads to the other. I've seen a lot of people who chase the big opportunities, big things, and you meet them 5 years later, they haven't done any. And because they still have this hope, they're living in this big lie in their head, and deception to think that you can just jump into big things. At the same time, I've seen people who were in the same position 5 years ago, who are now tenfold bigger than the vision that somebody was trying to chase 5 years ago, which never materialized because it's just too big to start.
So would you say then an entrepreneur's mindset is the biggest component or the most crucial factor over other physical barriers in their way?
That's very well put. You've got the words for it. Your mind is the most valuable tool you have. And if that mindset is not right, don't even start.
Okay. I'm with you.
I'd rather spend and invest in getting the mind right before I even start anything. Otherwise, you're going to waste your parents' money or your uncle's money or your money that you may have accumulated, And, it's no use. You have to have the hunger to start with. You mentioned a point earlier where you said adversity brings success, right? Or hardship brings success. You've seen, the most successful people in life don't come from successful families. It's unfortunate, but it's a reality, because kids who are born from successful families or from wealth don't have that hunger. It's very rare to see them with that hunger. But when you didn't have anything, and you had adversity in your life and big challenges, chances are you are far more hungry than somebody else. And if you don't feel that hunger, go build it. Because also, if you don't have that hunger and you don't have a plan to it, chances are you got everything that. Sorry, I lost there for a second.
Sorry, you're back with me now. Yeah.
Okay, we're all back. So I've had a lot of people saying, yeah, but you've achieved so much, and this is like maybe even 10 years ago. If I were you, I would just live my life and keep my money. And like, if my objective was to make money, yes, I probably would have done that, and I probably would have lost all of it by now. And I wouldn't know how to build it again. So boom and bust situation. If you want money, it could be boom and bust. But the reality is, when you're driven by a passion for greatness, for things that are beyond you, when you want to leave a legacy, when you want to impact people's lives positively, it's a very different story altogether.
I hear you. I think I'm scoping down these other questions here. I'm finding another one says, what is your vision for the future of the real estate market, in the sense of sectors and areas? So someone's asking, do you see warehouses starting to take over from retails? And do you see a lot more focus, like you said, on affordability, affordable housing, not the housing, but the areas that that use those kind of things?
Yeah, I think, look, I see, it's all about my views, not necessarily my vision, but.
Yeah, no, we want to know what you think. We want to know what you think.
Yeah, so I'm saying, that's what I'm saying. It's what's my views on what you've just mentioned. I think, look, I think warehousing will continue because the economy, the engine of an economy is based on logistics and that sort of thing in reaching different areas and that sort of thing. But I think industrial will more be driven by online, where you have distribution centers closer to people where they live. And I think, yes, warehousing will continue. When the economy starts picking up, I think we're probably a year out from the kickoff of that sort of thing. I think retail is probably 3 years out. In my view, you need the next 3 years to build the economy back slowly. I think offices would probably lag that, in my view. Offices would probably be 5 years out, in my view. Okay. And I think what's sustainable now and what's possible, I think you've got a massive gap in student accommodation, gap housing, affordable housing, social housing. I think in real estate, those are kind of opportunities, in my view, that are available to capitalize on for the next 3 years. At least, well, I think in perpetuity, but because the demand, as long as there's urbanization, etc., the demand for that isn't, it's endless.
Fair enough. I'm just saying if there are any more questions that have come through. No, I think I'm just going to give it a second to see if anything new comes up.
Okay.
Okay, I think I have one here. What do you believe the role of entrepreneurship is in challenging the current socio-economic issues? And I think that's a nice question.
It's a very good question. I think, look, entrepreneurs, being an entrepreneur is such a key role in society. And sometimes entrepreneurs don't realize that. I think economies are built by entrepreneurs. What is an economy? An economy creates jobs, and jobs are livelihood for people, direct and indirect jobs. They create infrastructure. Indirectly, the businesses that depend on your business not only create jobs, but they bring new investment. They build a country. It's as simple as that. We can't look to governments to be the social catalysts and to be, because governments will never create sustainable social social structure. What entrepreneurs do, they bring well, put it this way, governments put an enabling environment, and the entrepreneurs put sustainable models where people can have economic opportunities effectively. So I think entrepreneurs have a much more massive role, and the more there's an enabling environment by government, the more entrepreneurs will thrive. And the more entrepreneurs will thrive, less poverty you'll have in any given society, because there'll be more jobs created. I think South Africa has structural issues of big conglomerates that hoard sectors, in my view. And it's good and bad, but when the construction industry, big conglomerates were broken, I think it's a good thing, because then there'll be more entrepreneurs who will emerge in the construction industry to take and seize new opportunities. And especially for the new black entrepreneurial construction companies, because otherwise they would have never had that opportunity. It's opportunity for them to rise from small jobs of doing pavements through to doing roads and doing highways tomorrow. So in my view, you have a structural issue in South Africa where you just have these industries that just hoard the entire sector, and I think things like COVID, it's a godly way of just intervening and making sure that we can just break down the conglomerates and create an environment where entrepreneurs can thrive. I think South Africa is one of the least, one of the countries that have the least penetration of entrepreneurs, and that's why there's less jobs. That's why there's highest unemployment, because it's entrepreneurs who create jobs in any country. Leading economies in the world, from China to Germany to the US, wherever, it's entrepreneurs who create the jobs. So they're catalysts in society. I can't emphasize the role they play in society. And once they're successful, they've created all these economic opportunities for people and stability of jobs and that sort of thing, with less unemployment in the country. They become philanthropists. And I think in a life of an entrepreneur, that's the ultimate goal. Any entrepreneur who doesn't have a goal of philanthropy, I think will have failed not only himself or herself, but society, because otherwise you hoard your success for who? You need to be able to spread it out through philanthropy, because your inspiration to others, people can learn a lot from you, but at the same time, you've got to be able to have programs to lift them up one day, especially when you get to a point where you're stepping down and allowing young leadership to take over whatever you built as a legacy. Your focus can only be on philanthropy, things like this, where you go and talk to people, and you enable a lot of people and inspire a lot of people, and you put programs in place, whether it's bursaries, whether it's rural community upliftments, and you put investment in areas where there'll be no investment ordinarily, because you're not looking for returns. You're looking for just new opportunities that could be created to sustain those communities.
I think that's